right, welcome to biology. We are now moving on and continuing with ecology, and our focus today is going to be what's called symbiosis and other individual relationships. So really, we're looking at how do organisms interact with one another, and so there's these different terms, really, or vocabulary in how to describe this. So. Um, Basically, the recommended notes that I have for you is to kind of look at these different terms and possible relationships, and then I have some videos that are going to be some examples so that you can learn more about it and hopefully have an actual understanding and not just the definition. And then I'm going to have you kind of think about it further with the different questions and short answers down below. So, kind of going through it. Here we are with what's called mutualism. And so this is a relationship that is a benefit to both organisms. And with all of these, there's going to be really hundreds, or if not thousands, of examples. So I try to think of ones that are possibly more unique. And so we have the sea anemone and clownfish. And I would encourage you to watch that video to learn more about that mutualism relationship. Then there's commensalism, which is good for one and neutral for the other. So not every relationship is going to necessarily be bad or good. Sometimes it could be a neutral relationship. And so a brief example of this would be a squirrel and a tree. A tree is a living organism. A squirrel is a living organism. Squirrel will live in the tree, and the tree really isn't harmed, but it doesn't benefit it from it as well. But the squirrel definitely gets protection and storage and different things like that. Then there is another common one called parasitism. And so you've probably heard the term parasites, and it's not good, right? We should know that. But so the relationship description is bad for one, good for the other. And so, um, when we think about parasites, we really think of it usually from our own perspective, in that it's not a good thing. But for the parasite, it is a good thing, and they benefit from it. So, just an example, leeches reproduce, but their offspring are infertile. And so then we classify them as different species, and that lowers the fitness, for example. So it's a small detail, but it is kind of important. And really, it's the ability for the species to survive. Okay, if they can't uh, survive, then they can't reproduce, and if they can't reproduce, then their species will go extinct. So fitness is really the ability to survive, but technically, it's their ability to produce offspring. So here are some of the factors. Again, going back to competition. All right, then select all that are true. So you can select all or just a couple of them, all that are true. As a result of competition, the weaker organism will, and then again, you can read these. What do you think happens to population size if there is no competition? So I mentioned competition is really, really common. What if there is no competition? And is there an example of this on Earth? I want you to think about that. And you might be able to argue certain factors. So again, I want to have a discussion about this if you're curious. But otherwise, I'll let you take a shot at it. Okay. What do you think would happen to biodiversity over time if there are no predator-prey relationships? So if you go back to the predator-prey video, it talks about how it kind of helps promote biodiversity. So now, if you were to take that predator-prey away, what would happen to biodiversity? Would we have biodiversity? And I want you to think about it carefully. What did we learn about energy acquisition? Okay. Because again, the autotroph heterotroph part of that is important. And then it's very similar, but I want you basically it's a different conversation a little bit. Explain how the predator-prey relationship promotes evolutionary change in species. Okay, and again, this is going to be kind of connecting it to our conversation as we go into evolution and change amongst these organisms. Okay, so again, some new vocabulary, a lot of examples, and I definitely recommend you putting it in your notes. It's a good habit to practice taking notes and continue to take notes. But then let me know if you have any questions.